you see the target of most fans' frustration. They want quarterback change because that where it all starts and ends, right? I mean, they're ready to move on to Nico. The staff, you hear Josh Heupel talk on Monday. It's clear he's not going to do that. It feels like that Joe's decision making, where he was, out with his eyes, where he went with the football, was really, really good, except for the one forced throw when he got ear hold and threw the interception. And again, a bunch of little things equal one big thing. It's not just Joe. Joe's not perfect. Joe definitely deserves some criticism. He's the leader of the offense that scored 16 points and 30 points against a lowly Austin Peay team. So, but at the same time, like they've got issues on the offensive line. Defensively, you got to tackle better. You got to be better in the front seven than they were the other night against Florida, where Etienne ran for a career high 170 plus yards, and they've got to get it figured out. And they got to do it in quick order. And if it starts this week with UTSA, an opponent that if you let hang around, could beat you in the fourth quarter. But if you go out and play the way you're capable of playing, you should win this football game.
Yeah, and Josh Heupel spoke really highly about UTSA, and we'll continue to break UTSA down as the week goes on. I will be clear through 3 games, the numbers are not impressive with UTSA offensively. They didn't have their starting quarterback against Army, but again, we'll kind of get into that as the week goes on. Rob, I want to ask you about Joe Milton, but before I get to that, let's hear from Josh Heupel. This is from Monday. He was asked about the performance of Joe Milton. Obviously, that's what everybody wants to know. What does he think about Joe Milton? And on that interception, what would he have done in that situation? Here's Josh Heupel on his quarterback and Joe Milton.
Good things the other night. The pick, we can't just throw it up. You'd like to have that one back. Man, we got to be better in protection, too, in that situation. The decision-making, where he's going with the football, I said it before the game. I'll say it after the game, too. He was in the right spots. Accuracy, like wide receivers being exact in their routes, all those things got to continue to improve for us to be as efficient as we need to be.
Rob, AP and I, we were doing the post-game mini-pod, about an hour after the game was over with, and just sitting down there, and everything's raw and it's fresh on your mind, and I'm sitting here running through things that went wrong for Tennessee in that game, and I'm like, tackling, poor angling, horrible offensive line play, all that. Before I even got to Joe, and AP made the point, and I completely agree, and he's already said it today. At the end of the day, you're the quarterback of a team that scored 16 points on the road in SEC play. It's not good enough. What did you think about the offensive production and Joe Milton, his play, knowing it's got to get better, but also that there was a lot of things that went wrong?
I just didn't think he was the problem. Was he great? Absolutely not. No. He's not the reason that Tennessee lost that game. I bet, any of us, if somebody would said, hey, Joe's going to throw for 290 yards, complete.
Look at that stud. Look at that stud right there.
60% of his.
Yeah, Jason Swain, there he is.
And hey, don't sleep on Glenn Thaxton back there too, Ball Network legend in the frame. But if you would have known that Joe was going to throw for 290, complete 60%, have 2 touchdowns, and one really bad interception, I would have thought Tennessee was going to win that game, by a couple of scores. But then you factor in you average 3 yards a carry, the penalties, which we've all talked about ad nauseum, which were just egregious. The missed tackling. I just, like you said, Eric. I think that's a good snapshot. You check a lot of boxes for why Tennessee lost in Gainesville before you get to number 7.
Well, here's the other thing though with Joe. There's 2 things here that I think fuel a lot of the 3 things that fuel the fans' conversation about this. 1, Nico's a 5-star. Okay, number 1 player in the class according to On3. That's an immediate reaction from fans about how good he is. Whether he is or he's not, well, time will tell. So that's one thing. Second thing is Hendon Hooker was probably better than we even gave him credit for, and he got a lot of credit last year. Hendon Hooker righted a lot of wrongs with his ability to make plays off schedule, out in the perimeter with his legs, just righting wrongs. Hendon Hooker was really good. I won't say generational, AP. That's probably a little much. But he, in this offense, was a perfect marriage and was unbelievable a year ago. You knew there'd be a drop-off. Probably didn't realize just how good Hendon was a year ago and what that offense was doing. Then thirdly, you got Joe. You're never going to hit all the deep balls, right? But he missed a couple Saturday. What's that conjure up reflections of?
Overthrow Joe.
The first time. You got the 2-point conversion. He doesn't force it in there, try to make a play. He runs out of bounds, a la Ole Miss, running out of bounds. Clock goes down. All those things gets conjured up, and the result of the conversation or the result of that thought process is Joe's the problem. Joe's not good enough. And that's the billing of being the starting quarterback at Tennessee, replacing a really good player, and not producing as much as you need to produce. Again, many problems this team has to fix beyond Joe Milton playing a little bit better than he played. Now, he was much better against Florida than he was against Austin Peay. He was not very good against Austin Peay. He was, as you said, Eric, he's way down the list of the issues that you've got going on with your offense right now. I don't know that anybody thinks Nico's ready anyway. That's not what any fan wants to hear. But Austin, that's where this thing, based on every comment, everybody you talk to privately, publicly, everywhere, that's where that one feels like it is right now.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ready or not. No one said he's not ready. To me, I just think it more boils down to they think they would be doing Nico a disservice to put him in with where they're at offensively right now. They've got to get some things cured up around Joe and go from there. I'll add in number 4 is for the fans. They watched 4 years, the Larry Scott year, and then the 3 years under Jeremy of just atrocious offensive football. And then all of a sudden they started scoring points. And now it feels like this year they're going back to not scoring as much and struggling to get the ball into the end zone. And I think fans are hitting a hardcore panic button because it's like, whoa, we had so much fun. Even at 7-5 2 years ago, had so much fun, drilling South Carolina and drilling Missouri and all that. Winning 45-42 in Lexington, but putting up points and doing so. And then, of course, last year was magical, right? But all of a sudden this year it feels like the offense is more back towards like struggling to get to 20 and 30. And it feels like, when you do score, you've moved heavens and earth to do so. Last year it all just came so easy. And I think that's a panic, and I get it. I mean, again, you watch 4 years of just bad offensive football. I don't think they're going back in that type of direction, though.
And Hubbard, to add to your point, I think about how good Hendon was, making, just something happen when it all broke down. I think that just, highlights, kind of what Heupel's talking about with execution and having to clean things up, because the guys around Joe have to be better because a mistake is costly. And that's, not a knock on Joe, but he's just a different player than Hendon was and that kind of thing. So now you get to, if something breaks down, the play's over. Whereas last year, sometimes the fun had just begun.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Well, look, they were better on the offensive line a year ago. Okay, there's no doubt. You're playing with a top 10 tackle in Darnell Wright. You're playing with an NFL guy in Jerome Carvin. You had Cooper Mays out there. They were better. But Hendon could also fix the wrongs of an offensive lineman too. Or if a running back missed a protection, or I'm saying he could get out of the way and create some things happening. I don't think South Carolina's offensive line is very good, but Spencer Rattler is helping them out because of the things he could do. That's just not Joe's game. So to your point, Rob, you're exactly right. Everybody around them has to ramp up their game in doing those things. I don't know that that's Nico's game either. Okay, so I don't know that that's just you're suddenly putting in this dynamic athlete who's going to run for, be your second leading rusher, or your number one rusher in a game. I just think this is the adjustment and the change to the offense that comes with a different quarterback. To me, that's just kind of the reality of it.